and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you on Business Today Television. Friday is turning out to be good, not only for the broader markets, but for main indices as well. The Nifty, after a very long time, posting a substantial gain and holding on to its opening green tick, now 170 points higher and giving it able company. In fact, helping the Nifty on its way up is the IT index, now 1100 points higher. It had opened gap up, now 3% higher at 38,900, and Nifty Bank in sync with the long trend at 447 points higher, 60,048. To decipher what's happening in the markets in the first fortnight, where precious metals have again outshone all equity as well as other asset classes, and what holds for 2026, we are now joined by market expert Arun Kejriwal. Arunji has been in the markets for the last 3.5 decades, has seen it all and has made money in all time frames. Namaste Arunji, a very warm welcome. Sir, Happy New Year and a great year ahead as far as markets are concerned and your own portfolio is concerned. How are you looking at the first fortnight of calendar 26?
So let's look at it like this. Today is the 16th, so the first fortnight, technically speaking, is done and dusted. It was one that most people would like to forget in a hurry. Fortunately, the second fortnight, or if we say post Sankrant, has started off on a good note. Even in Hindu mythology, Sankrant is a turning factor when things start improving. If they have been going badly for you, and if things are doing well for you, the pace of growth for you accelerates. So a lot of things are just falling into place. Uncle Trump continues with his whimsical ways. One is not quite sure what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do, and it keeps the market on tenterhook. You spoke about precious metals and also metals. So in metals, copper, aluminium, zinc have been going through the roof, and steel also has sort of joined the bandwagon. Less said about gold and silver, which I don't know whether gold and silver can catch fire, because if they catch fire, they melt. But they apparently seem to be on fire at this point of time. So gold, silver is a little easier to explain. World banks are now buying gold and silver because they want to protect their currencies and de-risk to some impact, to some extent, the dependence on the dollar, because there are question marks about what could happen to the dollar the way things are happening in the US.
Arunji, I have been talking to a lot of people and investors and advisors in other asset classes. They tell me that everything has come to a halt. All excess money and all money, even in smaller towns and cities, is now firmly in the speculative realm of gold and silver. What does this tell you? One, is this overdone? And three, what do those people do who haven't been able to participate?
So the way gold, silver have risen is cause for alarm. But if you look at the reasons behind the rise, you believe there is logic to the madness that is happening in the market. Let's look at large economies. China, they have been buying gold and to some extent silver, left, right, and center. And the kind of gold that the Chinese central bank has bought is something to be looked at. You can't just ignore that number. Leave aside China, which is a far bigger economy than what India is or can ever aspire to be in the short term. India has bought a large quantity of gold, so much so that we sold some of our forex reserves and converted it into gold. The price at which it was done is not public domain at this point of time, but you can be sure the kind of rise that has happened, they would have made significantly higher gains in the swap into gold than the depreciation of the rupee versus the dollar. Now, this is a phenomena not happening in a couple of countries, but across the world. Mind you, gold and silver both are natural resources and are mined. So there is so much and so much supply alone. It cannot be infinite where you can just mint gold, silver and carry on. So I believe while you can always say that there seems to be an exaggeration, this time around there is genuine buying that has happened. We also have quite a few people who have gone short in gold and silver, and probably that could also fuel the rise in the short to medium term. One other factor which needs to be taken into account, while gold is a pure security asset, silver also has its industrial uses, and there are quite a few. We do need a large amount of silver in many of the electronics that are manufactured globally. So there is a industrial consumption demand as well.
Okay, fair point. But, sir, as we all know, money is finite, whether with central banks or with individual investors. The problem that is happening is that quality equity assets are being sold into, and that money is getting diversified into a speculative rally. The only fear is that you see some downdraft, and people lose money at the top in precious metals, and at the same time equities reverse as well. We've seen that happen a dozen times over the last 3 decades or so. What is the probability of that happening again?
Quite high. But if you ask me, can it happen in January? Can it happen in February? Most unlikely, because the current geopolitical state that the world is in, I don't believe things can normalize in such a short time. It's going to be a much more long drawn affair. Greenland is a new picture or a new kid on the block that has emerged. The Russia-Ukraine war has taken new dimensions. Similarly, Iran is another pot boiler, if I could use that term. And all of this is leading to greater uncertainty than ever before.
Fair point. We'll have to sort of navigate this uncertainty as it comes, sir. Meanwhile, what have you been doing with your personal portfolio? Have you added fresh money anywhere? Something that our viewers and investors can take benefit from?
Some amount of money, yes. Dividends have been coming in over the last couple of months. Some of that money has been added. One stock, if you remember, when we spoke in the last month of calendar year 25, was ICICI AMC. And if you remember or recall, I had said this could be the stock of the year 26. Proud to say that ICICI AMC is up 36% from its issue price. And this was a company which had a IPO of close to 11,000 crores. It's doing extremely well. The numbers that they have declared for Q3 of 26 are very, very impressive. And it sort of negates the thought that you have of money from equity going to other asset classes. Overall, you might have the ultra HNIs doing that, but India or Bharat as we call it, still believes in SIP, and that money is what drives an AMC like ICICI. So that is one stock that I have added, and I believe this could easily give 25-30% returns over a 12-month horizon.
Okay, fair point. It's a quality stock which saw a lot of action on the listing day as well. Fair enough. This is something which can be depended upon to deliver fairly strong returns over the long period of time. Arunji, any spaces in your portfolio or in the market where you've got fed up of? Arunji, can you hear me?
Yeah. I had lost you temporarily. Just repeat your last question.
Okay. Yes, sir. I was just wondering, any spaces in the market where you don't find value at the present moment, you're not looking at it at all?
So let's talk of a broad category. Last year was the year of IPOs. We had about 104 IPOs which came in.
I think there is some issue with the connection on which Arunji is with us. We'll try and get him back for the moment. But the market's in fine shape, ladies and gentlemen. On Friday today, Arunji is back with us. He was talking about spaces that he doesn't find attractive even after time and price corrections, or one of the two. Arunji, over to you, sir.
Yeah. So Shell, these 100 and odd IPOs that came, quite a few of them have failed to deliver in spite of the hype that was created about them. Probably the expectation of bumper subscriptions tempted the merchant bankers and promoters to overcharge, and that is now having a cascading effect with issues anywhere between 15 and 35% below issue price. I believe there are quite a few, and the list would be exhaustive. So there is no point in getting them. I believe with the Q3 numbers that come out, it would be a fair time to look at them, evaluate whether they have steam left. In case they do, they would be at attractive prices. So post Q3 would be an opportunity to relook at those stocks which have listed in calendar year 25 and are currently well below the issue price.
Yes, that's been a happy hunting ground for many sensible investors. Arunji, because of paucity of market action and of course the sheer absence of bulls anywhere except the precious metals and metal space, I was just wondering, how are you looking at the equity segment of metals? For instance, within the ferrous play, Steel Authority, Tata Steel, within the aluminium play, Hindalco, Nalco, they show no signs of any reversal. Hindustan Zinc has started to come up. This was an erstwhile favorite of yours. We've also seen very strong rallies in companies like Coal India, companies like MMTC, NMDC. Would an equity play make sense rather than a pure speculative bet on the underlying metal? What would you prefer?
So let me give you some statistics. Last year, calendar year, the top performing sector was the metal space. If memory holds me correct, the metal sector was up around 25%, while Sensex Nifty were up just around 10%. So it was a clear outperformer even last year. In the first 15 days of this year, again the metal pack has outperformed every other index. Now, very clearly, the demand that you see in gold, silver has also spilled on to aluminium, copper, zinc, and they seem to be doing extremely well, with now a rub-off effect even coming to steel. While steel is a laggard compared to the remaining, but it is trying to play catch up. So there is value. And if you believe that you don't want to get into the speculative realm, which probably gold and silver is getting into, this is a safer bet, and you can park some amount of money here. Uh, what comes to mind here are two companies in particular. One is Hindalco, which is a play on aluminium and copper, and the second is Vedanta, which is a play on aluminium, copper, and zinc. So, along with zinc, you also have some amount of play on silver, because along with zinc, you also get a certain amount of silver.
Okay, so Vedanta fresh record highs, ladies and gentlemen. Hindalco, it's 10x in 10 years. Can you believe this? And a pure commodities play, but a fabulous management at a very cost-conscious level, working on a commodity where margins are minuscule. It's only volume, and on top of it, a global commodity play. Despite that, Hindalco has made 10x money over the last 10 odd years or so. The PSU banking basket, Arunji, flourishing with gains. How would you see this space? Something that has strong tailwinds? Any favorites here?
So, two things that are important to be noted in the PSU banking space is we had two small divestments from the government stake last year, and I believe some more would happen in the fourth quarter, that is the current quarter of this year as well, and followed up in subsequent quarters of 26-27. They offer a attractive play. One needs to be nimble-footed and make quick entry exits, because there is a lot of volatility that comes into the banking sector, and one small event can move prices quite a bit. You were talking about Hindalco and the kind of returns. I would like to share with viewers one interesting incident which I had heard from the legendary G.D. Birla. When he was setting up the unit, the then Prime Minister had asked him what kind of incentives would he like for this plant. And he says he wanted the right to set up a hydro plant, because he believed power was a very important factor for making aluminium. And that is why the Renukoot power project came up. And you can see that that has made them so much more efficient in producing aluminium. And this is a benefit which has flowed right from the time the plant was set up, rather than taking some capital subsidy. So it is insight which helps large, big companies, conglomerates come up.
Kya baat hai? What a recollection. I'm sure you're talking about 75 years ago, but
yes.
Well,
I wasn't there.
Really needs to.
Shell, I wasn't around at that time, but at one of his events where he was talking to us about it, he mentioned this. So I said, let me share it with your viewers. They would probably find it interesting as well.
Wonderful. Arunji, what about fresh capital? Where should it go? Apart from the IPO point that you made earlier, is IT looking attractive to you?
So we've had a very strong rally on the back of numbers from TCS and Infosys, and there is hope that probably the worst is over. Things could improve, but the present global situation doesn't make it as attractive as today's prices are. I still believe we need to look at it with little more caution, because uncertainty still exists. So it might make sense to see how things happen in the coming quarter as well. Yes, valuations had been beaten down, so some sort of nipping into the stock could be advised, but putting in large investments in the IT space may not be the best thing to do.
Fair point. On that very positive note, Arunji, we'll call it a day. He's wishing you all the very best for calendar 2026, and I hope to see you in person fairly shortly in Mumbai. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was Mr. Arun Kejriwal. 2 points come out in the open as far as the rallies are concerned in the market. While it continues to be a hugely speculative space, which is the precious metals on the long side, there are probabilities that the geopolitical tension globally might further add strength to this rally. This is what Arunji advises, but with extreme caution. On the metal space, he prefers Hindalco and Vedanta on a combination of very strong production in aluminium and copper in Hindalco, and of course aluminium, copper, zinc, and to some extent silver as well in Vedanta. These are the two major points that we could unearth with this conversation. Thank you for watching. I'll be back at 2 p.m.
The world's most powerful double-engine coverage, where access meets expertise. Davos Brainstorm, 19th to 23rd January. Only on India Today and Business Today.